Okay, wait. Okay, I had to get a new SD card. And I'm so sorry for that. Anyway, as I was saying, and I've had to repeat this like 3 times now, there's something that all the armed services things, the Army, the Navy, probably the Air Force, I believe. I'm not sure. I don't know much about it. Anyway, all of it has an effect on this thing here that soldiers have, their heads. Anyway, and we heard about this. We saw this in a novel called Shell Shock, because like Paul, when he's on leave and he hears a train, he thinks it's a shell, and he's all like, oh crap, it's a shell, I'm gonna die. Anyway, and we would now refer to this as post-traumatic stress disorder, which affects a lot of soldiers, veterans. And would you say that you have PTSD?
Yep.
And what exactly is it like?
I didn't know I was
Are you
pregnant.
okay with talking about this?
Is what now?
Are you okay with talking about this?
Sure.
What's it like?
Well, everybody's different. Mine is nightmares about drowning. That's because I was trapped in that submarine compartment at 600 feet, and the compartment flooded, and I'm having to climb up to the ceiling, and I got a little air mask on, and it was flooding all around us, and water and everything floating in the water, and finally they blowed out the tanks. Thinking both ears bled, and busted both eardrums, and then had to put so much pressure on. There was 3 guys in there, 3 of us in there, and it put so much pressure on us that it busted all our eardrums. And we come up a buoyant ascent, an emergency ascent, so it was way too fast, and so all 3 of us got the bends. And and you have dreams about that all the time. You have nightmares reliving that all the time.
Yeah, like my friend Chamberlain. He had a blog about post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah.
And I commented on it saying like how you can't really watch scenes in movies where there's like a lot of water.
It makes flashbacks.
Yeah.
When you see something that reminds you of it, it throws right back at you all the time.
Like
if you see somebody underwater, then you know what it's like to be underwater and be drowning, and it gives you flashbacks of being drowned.
Yeah, like with Paul in the novel, and he hears the train, and he thinks that it's a shell.
Yeah, it's real. I mean, some guys, they have PTSD from watching their best friend get killed or watching his leg get blown off or something like that.
Yeah.
But in my case, PTSD is just have reoccurring dreams of the event where I almost drowned. That's the ones I have.
And in the penultimate chapter of the novel, basically everyone Paul was friends with up until that point dies.
Yeah.
Like his friend Deterring, he gets homesick and he tries to escape back home, and he gets caught and executed for treason.
Yeah.
His friend Crop is shot in the gut, and his friend Cat is injured while trying to scavenge some food.
Yeah.
And while carrying him back, he gets a piece of shrapnel in his head and he dies.
Yeah.
And the next chapter, Paul dies. So basically, it's kind of really depressing.
Yeah, but you got to learn how to not be
Think
around
about
things
it.
that remind you of the event, or else you're thinking about it all the time. So you have to just don't get yourself in a situation that flashes back that memory.
A quote from the novel. It's something around we'll grieve about it after the war.
Yeah.
If we were to think about it all at once, we would surely be destroyed by now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know a lot of guys from World War II that and came back and they just couldn't talk about it. PTSD wasn't even invented until the 80s or the 70s or 80s. It wasn't even invented back when I got out. The 80s before it was invented. Back then they would call it inability to adjust. Now they call it PTSD.
Yeah. And like I said, he goes back. He's at home from leave, and he just can't really adjust to it. And in chapter 12, Paul says he basically says that World War I won't have any survivors, not because everyone's going to die, but because they won't live really.
Oh yeah.
Because he says that men will not understand us.
Yeah.
We'll go back and the the older people who weren't in the war won't get what they've been in. Even the older people who were in the World War, they go back and they have families and jobs already. They'll go back to that. And the younger generation, they weren't there when it happened. They won't understand. He says that basically they'll be all alone. They aren't going to be able to have lives like the understanding necessary for
not
living.
necessarily. I mean, some people you can adapt to things, and some people can't. So if you can get over what bothers you, or and not think about it often, that you can do it for regular life.
Yeah, and but what was it? I had something I was gonna say. Paul, not Paul. Was it Paul? Was it? Sorry. So, wow, this is embarrassing. Excuse me while I pause this, and then